everybody. It is, what's it called? Sunday. One of those Sundays. March 26th. All sorts of weird things happening. But I just saw a video from Styx Hexenhammer 666. A bit of a YouTube celebrity. Now, I'm not a YouTuber. I have talked about making videos, but I was never too in love with the whole YouTube thing because monetization, I've never really met anybody who made too much money with it. Videos are harder to do than podcasts. It's something you kind of want to build up to. I don't like people having to see my ugly mug all the time. But still, there are some people who have, 10,000 followers who are doing pretty good. I think Styx has 100,000. He's actually a big voice as far as libertarianism and politics, and his analyses are awesome. I'm a big fan, actually. Him, Computing Forever, Lionel from Nylon Nation, a lot of RT clips, a lot of good people, a lot of good commentators on there. And I only see that on, I got to check my Roku if I could find RT on that. But I only mostly see it on YouTube. Now, YouTube is, according to Styx, and he put out kind of like an all points bulletin on this, is changing their paradigm because they want to be basically a replacement for television. They want to be like internet interactive television. And they're going to have these companies making content. And you see it with the RedTube. They're starting to do like, YouTube originals. Well, they're turning themselves into almost like a Netflix. So you're going to have Netflix, YouTube, Roku, all these kind of services replacing television. And kind of, I don't know how I feel about that. Now, YouTube having this kind of non-corporate content, people who are independent and aren't just trying to sell whatever, it's really a big draw. And I get the feeling with these, all the clout, like Alphabet Inc.? I forget what Google's parent company is called. But it's got a lot of clout, and it's probably going to be somewhat successful in its endeavors, but YouTube is going to change from what it is now. You're not really going to see the same content anymore because, as Styx, I think, correctly points out, if they have a corporation making a show, they're not going to want to compete with like 3 or 4, 100 YouTubers who do the exact same thing. So they're going to start pushing for content to be inappropriate. And they're going to start booting people straight off. You've seen it. They've demonetized a lot of videos from a lot of providers, a lot of our independent YouTubers. And they're going to continue to do that because that's a great way to get people to leave the platform. So you're just going to have kind of like the old videos. And, of course, everybody wants something new. So you're going to, new and up to date, unless you're more like my channel, which is more of a educational thing that kind of works at any time. Or at least I hope it will. So I think Styx's plans to kind of, we'll all go to, we'll do these kind of protests and we'll leave YouTube and stuff like that. Well, in my case, I never really got on YouTube. I just share my podcast to YouTube and it comes up with a splash screen from Spreaker, which is the actual place I use, and I actually pay them, to house my content and all that stuff. So I don't really have to worry. They're not really supposed to pay me anyway, although they're just kind of like 1099 thing. And, if they get enough advertising revenue, you get a part of it. W9 actually. It's legit, and they're actually pretty well priced, but people are more into video, and also the things I want to do are kind of calling for video, whiteboarding, and stuff like that, being a bit of a teacher. And I really think that I'm going to need to start doing videos, but I don't dig YouTube. I never did. There's just all this drama, and it's quite silly, actually. And it really just seems like a matter of time before they either demonetize whatever I put up, or they, kick me off because I'm competing with somebody else, some corporate entity who wants to do the same type of stuff that I'm doing. In my case, I may get lucky because, corporations don't tend to do anything educational, really. A lot of these things are probably going to stay on YouTube, but I'm not going to upload it to YouTube and have them hold my content and then have to go back and download it for whatever reason. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to either be on VidMe or Minds.com. I'll see what kind of works for me at some of the alternate platforms, and I'm going to use those because I don't see a future for YouTube, and it's not my fight, It's not a fight I'm really that into being a part of. And yeah, people are saying, like Styx, or Styx is saying, really, I haven't seen anybody else saying it, although other people have been hinting at it, like Computing Forever, is that we can't allow it, but at the same time, we're not going to be able to stop it. YouTube is going to be a channel. It's going to be its own TV service at some point, and it may work for them. Who knows? Honestly, I think it'll bury them. It really goes against what they started, unbeknownst to them. And I think if YouTube was under their original management, so to speak, we wouldn't really be seeing this. But since Google bought them, they evidently had plans for them. And I agree with Styx that it's not going to be the alt-right or the alt-left. It's going to be everybody. Anybody who's competing with these, whatever shows these corporations want to put out in order to kind of get that kind of market share. And, of course, they have pre-existing shows. Like I said, you see it going on already with RedTube, where they're having, YouTube originals, and you can subscribe to it. They're doing a pay-for-play subscription service, like a Sling TV. And it's not going to work. I don't think. I think it's a possibility because of the clout they have, and they could basically ram everything into everybody's Android phone. Since they own Android, and most of us have Android phones, so we may become a bit of a captive audience. And for a lot of people, the same types of people who buy iPhones, that whole captive audience thing, a lot of people don't care, right? So it may or may not work. It's kind of a coin flip. And I'm not willing to kind of stake anything on that. I will share to YouTube, and within that, I'll use it. I'll probably limit, maybe just do my podcast or something, and share on YouTube. I'll or do every third show. I don't know. I'll do something where it's just really more of a little advertising every once in a while. Every once in a while, I'll go, you know what? This is kind of a popular type of topic. Maybe I'm doing some current events. It's that maybe that'll be good to put on YouTube. It'll get some hits, and then that'll, let people know about me. So as marketing, I'll use YouTube like a bitch. But as far as trying to be a quote-unquote YouTuber, after watching Styx's video, no. There's really no reason for me to, when I turn the video, to really use YouTube, other than, like I said, the occasional marketing. So, I will, of course, fill everybody in as into where I'm going and what I'm doing as I become better at doing video production and everything. I love my setup with Spreaker as far as podcasts, and that'll always be part of my week. I'm thinking, my maybe Saturday, Sunday, and then, of course, Monday, I usually do a Walking Dead show for, my entertainment show, too. So, I'm kind of spread out, and all is good. I really get the feeling that there is going to be a platform that's basically what YouTube meant to be, that's going to sprout up and get more popular, whether it's Minds.com. A lot of the YouTubers are already talking about that, so I think that that's going to be one of the platforms a lot of us go to. As far as video, VidMe, I'm not really sure what Minds.com does. I haven't checked them out too much. I think I've heard of them more as more of a Facebook replacement. We'll see, because what's always going to happen is that the entrenched interests are going to get in there and fuck it up. It's kind of like every musical genre you listened to when you were young. It would get bubblegum, You'd start out with hardcore kind of gangster rap, and you'd end up with Will Smith doing something, where he rappels down from a wall or something. And Will Smith is a great actor. I love him in a lot of movies, but as a rapper, he was horrible. Other than kind of like goofy stuff. He should have never gotten away from that and tried to be gangsta. So it's, everything gets ruined. And that's really why there's always kind of a new generation looking for something new, because they could already see that. Because everything gets marketed to us to a point where we're, they figure out how to get most of us to believe in something, to believe it's real or authentic. And by the time the next generation comes around, they're looking at it as totally fake. So it's always going to happen. The YouTubes will go away. I mean, remember MySpace, and now it's Facebook. And Facebook, something else will pop up. Anytime you have this kind of censorship, you're going towards kind of like being like bubblegum corporate, people are going to get away from it. And it dies this kind of dwindling death. I was watching a very interesting video. They were talking about how, I think it was 1200 BC, there was this fall of this kind of international kind of world trade system. It was the Mediterranean world with like Egypt, the Hittites, Minoans, etc. And how it started, I think, 1177 or 1186 BC. And by, it took like 100 years. And that was like the fall. And the same thing kind of happened with the Roman Empire. It didn't all just like explode at once. We think there's like this one event and everything dies. The Roman Empire didn't actually fall, I think, until 586. I'm pretty sure it started in 486 and they really ended in 586. And then the eastern half actually lasted for another 1,000 years, so it went into the Middle Ages. Things don't necessarily just completely go away. They don't, they don't just kind of, poof, they're gone. So we'll have YouTube around, and it'll probably be kind of a half what it was meant to be as far as individual content and half corporate for a while. And it will dwindle and dwindle and dwindle. Less and less people will want to be on it. More and more people will go someplace else. As the corporations demand that they don't have, their commercials on certain things. It's really that they want to make content and they don't want to compete. They're squeezing out their competition. And not even that they want to make content. Many of them are already involved in making content. So you'll see this kind of the kind of death of the cable model. It'll all be through the internet, and you'll have whatever box, like a Roku, maybe Apple TV. You'll have all these different types of things, and people will have different services, and it'll get down to kind of a couple of things. And this is actually kind of a good thing because now we're getting competition. And we'll see what happens with that, because how are they going to get the internet through? Usually it's your cable provider, or whoever provides your TV is also providing your internet. So what are they going to do? How are they going to do that? How are they going to keep people with cable? You make those triple bundles of cable TV and like internet phone or whatever might go out the window. And you'll see a lot of them just kind of closing down. I mean, we've already seen HBO go to HBO Go. I don't get HBO, but I get HBO Go. So I don't get it from my cable provider. I get it from HBO. And it works out a lot better that way. I like the interaction. I don't like going through 50 channels of HBO and then going, oh, okay, let me look at the HBO on demands. And I like just going straight to the HBO Roku channel. That's more fun for me. If I don't find anything, there's a whole bunch of other channels that I could go to. Things are going to get interesting with this. But just like everything, it's going to get ruined by the corporations. And they're going to kind of bury themselves. Now, YouTube might end up becoming this, slightly or moderately successful kind of TV provider. And, hey, if that's what happens, that's what happens. But it's not going to be the place to put up your videos anymore. And that's unfortunate because it's so easy. They have so much right now that it's, you can kind of treat YouTube as your crack. If you're like a person who really loves to get educated in things. But now we're going to have, instead of, all these people talking about, wars in the Middle Ages and stuff like that, and how to change, the water filter in your refrigerator or whatever, you're going to have more and more shows that are going to kind of directly compete with them. And you're not going to have these kind of video clip things anymore. More and more of it is just it's going to be old and outdated. It's kind of like a war through attrition. When nobody has a water filter on their fridge anymore, that's, when like a lot of videos will just be kind of obsolete. You know what I mean? There are some people like Metatron who's always talking about, different types of sword fighting and stuff like that. There's a lot of martial arts up there. A lot of the old videos will kind of survive, and they may even become almost like a legacy media thing where, they pay you a few shekels if you get, a certain amount of people. But, old videos, you're never going to get those 7 million views type thing. You're not going to really have any PewDiePies on YouTube anymore. That's what I predict. And I see and I agree with everybody making a video and a podcast about this and alerting everybody to this. But what I don't see is how, people getting up in arms is going to make a difference. They've already decided. They've decided where this is going to go, and all we could really do is maybe slow it down. But the ultimate step is to go to another provider, to go to somebody else you can upload your videos to. I'm in a very lucky spot where I don't have to download my videos and then upload them. I have very few videos on YouTube. I think I've only done one or two, and they were pretty shitty, actually. So, people getting into the game at this point don't really have to worry. I think what we should do is kind of try to start getting content on other channels. On other, services. So if VidMe is the place to be, then hopefully that'll last for a while. And hopefully you see, the whole thing with capitalism and with these corporations is that they can be bought at any time. It's very rare that you have a closely held corporation. There's usually a bunch of public stock out there, so you just buy the stock, and suddenly you're the owner, right? You get the 50.00001% of the stock, and now you're the owner, effectively. So it's always going to happen because that's how the corpocracy is set up, where if something succeeds, they could come in and grab it. They can grab it in order to destroy it, so it's no longer a competitor. They can grab it in order to change it, so it's more what they want. They can grab it to kind of emulate it and try to keep it going, and that doesn't usually work out too well after like the whole mergers and acquisitions things go through. That's a bit of a problem with our system. You have to have a corporation because of limited liability, so that you can't be sued personally. In some of my other shows, I've explained what limited liability is. If you haven't heard that, please Google it. It's something that you really should know. So, and it's the reason that most businesses are corporations. Even the bodega, well, that might not be a term you recognize. That's a New York term. But let's say the little, what's it called? Like the corner store. I don't know if people have those all everywhere. But like the corner store, that sells cigarettes and stuff like that. In New York, we call them bodegas. Those stores are all incorporated. They're called Chapter S corporations or small business corporations. And only one person might own the stock and own all the stock, and it might be one share, Usually I think it's automatically 200 shares. But one person might own all 200 of those shares, and they're effectively the president, the CEO, the CFO, and the board of directors, and the chairman of the board. And it's set up that way on purpose. Because people don't want to get sued and lose, whatever pay they got. So let's say you have a corporation and then you pay yourself. First, your corporation gets taxed, and then you personally get taxed, whatever salary you give yourself. And then you become, so you get this double taxation thing. That's part of what a corporation, the deal to have this limited liability, you get double taxation. Although they're always trying to get rid of that. Now, we have the structure where most businesses are corporations, and even if you do have kind of a mom and pop sole proprietorship, again, I've talked about that, but if you're unfamiliar with the term, please Google it, another term you really need to know, or a partnership, which I think you're probably more familiar with, because it means just what it is. Well, those businesses, when they want to expand, and let's say you want to become a franchise, or you want to just, expand, let's say you have a bar, you want to buy next door, and make like a bigger bar slash, gastropub or whatever your plans are, one of the ways to raise that money is to incorporate and sell stock. And that's actually what the purpose of it is. It's just that usually those businesses start out as corporations, and they're incorporated under what's called any legal purpose. So they could pretty much do anything. They don't have like charters that say, oh, we're going to sell cigarettes. None of that happens really anymore unless it's a not-for-profit. So why am I bugging out about all this business stuff? Well, the whole corporate structure means that they are quote-unquote publicly owned. They could be privately owned, but it's, not one guy owns everything. Okay? One guy or gal isn't like the head of it. There's a share of ownership. That's why they call it shares. They're sharing ownership. That means that even if you're a privately held corporation, let's say it's like within your family, the little brother at Walmart can decide to sell his shares, and there might be all sorts of things he'd have to do that, but he could still probably do it. Most corporations aren't like that, where they have all these rules so that the owners can't sell. In fact, that's a big reason that people want shares, is to wait for them to get up in value and then to sell them. So there's not a lot of companies that go with this whole like privately held corporation thing and then make all these rules to make it really hard to sell the shares. Although if you want to start a corporation, that might be a good thing to look into. If you don't want it taken over eventually. Because that's what's going to happen. A bigger, badder corporation is going to see, oh, this corporation is doing good, it's making money, and they care about the money flow. So they might take that corporation to get its money flow. They might take that corporation just to sell it, because they could make more out of selling it than it would cost them to buy it. They might want to kind of merge with it to make it more of a subsidiary and use it for whatever nefarious purpose. All that's out there. And it's not something that in the modern structure you can do much about. You have to really plan ahead. So what happens? Somebody ends up owning the corporation. That wasn't the original owners, and they could really do with it what they want. Any legal purpose, like I said. They aren't hedged into a charter unless you're talking about a non-for-profit. It's always going to happen. Once things get big enough to be on the radar, somebody's going to start looking into what they can do with it. So the whole YouTube thing, it was destined to end up this way. And I'm kind of making the case that with most of these entities, they're going to end up like this. So what do? Well, you really look into how to incorporate as far as being a non-for-profit, being an organization. It takes longer, but it protects you a little bit. I know there's already a website called this, but there was something called Idea Exchange. They're gone now, I'm pretty sure, but I remember on my college campus, many, many moons ago, they were advertising, and I thought this would make a great not-for-profit, right? It's just, make it purely educational. You warn people if there's explicit content as far as cursing or whatever. And other than that, you're pretty good to go. Your people get paid just like YouTube, but you're a not-for-profit. You're just providing the service, and it's really almost like an educational service. and you could make money with it, but you don't necessarily have to. So that's, maybe get an accountant and a lawyer together and try to figure that out. But what's really going to happen is that a lot of these things are going to get together. They're going to form. They're going to look cool at the beginning. And then they're going to sell out. And that's people, that's corporations, that's institutions. That's pretty much everything. Everything kind of doesn't survive the first battle plan with capitalism. That's how the rich stay rich. They find a corporation, they bleed it dry. They find somebody else's success and steal from that. And that's why we can't have nice things. So I don't see it as a battle really worth waging as far as trying to force YouTube into not being a sellout, because I don't think that that's really possible in our current version of capitalism. I don't think it's going to happen. We don't protect companies that are trying to do good things. We don't protect them. We just don't. Because the people in charge don't want them protected. They want to take them over. They want to exploit them. They want to sell them. All the things I mentioned before. So, Styx, sorry, in that I don't think any sort of rebellion is going to work. I'm not being negative. I really think that our capitalist structure doesn't allow it. And I'm not against capitalism, but I am against this sort of function of it, where basically everything becomes ruined. And I'm sorry that YouTube is not going to be what it was. It's going to be censored, so will Facebook. So will pretty much anything that's already out there. So it's you're going to have to go to other things. And why wait? Right? Just hop over there. Take advantage of those few years that VidMe will be cool before they sell out. And, maybe at some point we'll figure out a way to either protect some of these companies. Maybe one of the things you could do is to actually have people own the company. How does that work? The collective idea. When things are good for the collective, a collective business model could also be good. Now you have these content creators, right? Like PewDiePie, and I would even say Styx. He's pretty big, but you have Sargon of Akkad. You have some pretty big names that probably make a pretty decent living. Well, what if they were to start buying stock, right? You can't do it you can't get the parent company of Google, whatever the hell they're called, Alphabet Core or whatever, Corp. But let's say you go in and you become the owners of the corporation by buying up its stock. Now you can use the corporation for what you want. And now you could even put into its charter certain things. Of course, that could always be overturned. But then they'll have to change your whole charter. So there are some ways to do it. I remember when a company I was working for was going out of business, and it was a retail company, and a bunch of the managers, who were pretty well paid, nobody else was, but the actual store managers were pretty well paid, they wanted to get together, borrow money, and buy their own corporation back. They wanted to work for themselves, right? Not a bad idea. I don't know how that would work out. How do you stop PewDiePie from being, when my videos make twice as much, per view or whatever. But that can be worked out. In fact, he'd be making so much money that he probably wouldn't make videos anymore, except to do high videos. Hey, how you doing? If he really loves making videos, which I think he does, he'd probably end up making a bunch of, hi, how you doing videos. This is what we're doing this week. We're adding this feature. He could do a lot of that stuff as the voice of what's it called? The voice of whatever service ends up happening. I have like no subscribers. I have like maybe 24 views a week. Well, that's in, what's it called? In Spreaker. I don't really check even my YouTube. I'm more into kind of figuring out how I can use it as a marketing tool. That's about it. Just like Facebook, I really have no interest in Facebook. But I know that every time I share a video, it should go on Facebook, right? Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, yay. But ultimately, I want people to go to my Patreon and give me $1 a month or something. I'm not looking for like this tiny little stream. I don't think that that's ever going to be that lucrative. YouTubers don't get paid much unless they're really, really getting a lot of views, and you have to do certain things to get that. And it's not that I'm unwilling to do that. I am incapable of doing that. I just suck. There's no other way to say it. I'm pretty horrible. It takes a long time for me to figure things out. So, of course, once I start making videos, I'm going to be very upfront about where I'm going, where I'm posting, all that stuff. So it's not going to be a big mystery. But like I said, will I share it to YouTube every once in a while? Sure, why not? But being a YouTuber, those days are gone, right? I always see this a little too late, the rebellion, right? It should have been like when Google bought YouTube, or was thinking of buying YouTube, and, people found out through the grapevine there should have been a rebellion. We don't want it to be owned by Google because we know what's going to happen. And people kind of mention, things might get sucky because we see it so often that it's become kind of obvious to a lot of people who are paying attention. So the time for the rebellion was really back then, before Google bought YouTube. And that might have squashed the deal. And they might have said, you know what, we got to stay with what we're doing. Yeah, Google's going to, give me all this money, but they're going to destroy it. And, the people are going to leave. And I just don't want my company, even though I don't own it anymore, to become this dinosaur and get buried. I want to still be known as the guy who started YouTube, or the part of the group that started YouTube. I want to be one of those people. And if YouTube is like, what's YouTube? Then there goes that fame, right? Where's your legacy? And those arguments could have been made before Google bought it, but they can't be made after Google bought it. Now they own it. They're going to do whatever the hell they want with it. And that is all. That's all she wrote. So we don't really... I see this all the time, too. It's like you're rebelling after the fact. You're rebelling when things have already kind of happened. It's already done with. It's already like there's no real turning back without some sort of like, blow up the world and start again. And hopefully life will not take 4 billion years this time on planet Earth. Sorry, it's over. YouTube is done. And the people that are on it, like I'm sure PewDiePie's still making a pretty penny off of it, even though he's making a lot less. And if he was smart, he'd be supporting the next platform and or making it himself and setting it up so that it can't be bought, that it can't be stuck into the game. Now, I don't even know with not-for-profits if they can actually be merged and acquired, or, it seems like it would be a much harder thing to do, but they might be able to be co-opted too, because remember, the corporations make the rules at this point. So whatever's in their favor, they're going to put through, and they can just change a few laws and make it, now not-for-profits could be traded around. They could be bought maybe more on wholesale as opposed to, by share. I don't know. I mean, there's people thinking about this right now, how they could get a hold of some sort of not-for-profit that seems to be making money. So it's it's ugly, and we need some sort of protections, but we don't have them. They're not there. And I don't even know what they would be. And I don't think many people do. So until that happens, we're just going to have to hop from just like it was from MySpace to Facebook. We're going to have to go to YouTube to either VidMe or something else. But what I would like to see happen is that we kind of have a consensus. We almost vote as far as what would be the platform that is the most fair to its content providers, that is the most easily accessible, is scalable, it doesn't have any problems with scalability. Like all these things we could kind of research and find out and figure out like which platform would be the place to be. And then, of course, when that gets bought out and starts sucking, we have to do it again. And you're not going to get away from that. You're not going to get. That's like getting away from capitalism and our particular brand of it. It's just not going to happen. It's a private club, and like George Carlin said, you're not in it. If you do make something good, it's going to be taken from you. You'll be reimbursed, but don't think you really own anything. I mean, think about land. You go and buy some land, well, then why is the government taxing your land? Why is there a property tax? I thought I owned it. I thought I paid for the house. All right, I'm paying the bank because I paid for this house and this land. Why am I paying property taxes? I should be paying county taxes, but there should be no such thing as property taxes. You shouldn't be able to take away my house, ever. But guess what? All over the country, cash-starved counties are taking away people's property because they don't really own it. They're just renting it long term. It just becomes a much better deal once you've paid off the mortgage. That's all. So, much love, everybody. I really hope that there's a solution to this that is, like I said, we look into what's next and we just go there. Like I said, storming the castle with pitchforks and torches, that should have been done a while ago. I'm not against doing stuff like that. I just know that I feel right now it's stupid. So let's figure out what the next place to be is and go there. Same with Facebook, all right? Facebook and YouTube should just be kind of automatic buttons that you share to so you kind of get the marketing of it. That's it. They're marketing tools. Hopefully you'll be able to bring enough people over to the light side of the force. And if not, then you fail. If you succeed, you succeed. Such is life in this country. And I don't think we need to complicate it with false rebellions. So, I'm signing off, and I wish you all good luck. Good night and good luck.